I want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between who style gets what when applying CSS. So again, the browser has its own type of styling. An H1, for example, is made bold. It's a little bit larger and some margin above and below it. And that is the lowest priority when looking at CSS. From there, it will then look at an H1 tag inside of your external style sheets and try to apply that and override any of the browser defaults. And in this case, you can see our font weight went up to 900 and we did a text line center. If we had kept our inline CSS, our embedded CSS inside of our head tags, that CSS would have overridden the external style sheets. And if I went specifically to that H1 tag and put a style attribute with a specific font weight or something or a color, that would even override the embedded or the internal style sheets. So again, there's definitely a priority or a stacking order of who gets what. When looking at the CSS specifically though, let's say we all have a style sheet, an external style sheet, and I grab a specific div tag and apply a color to it. If I apply a class a little bit below that, or even above that, I think for that matter, it will take precedence over that just div tag. So classes actually do take precedence over just selectors. And this also includes a descendant selector. If I was to do like a div space anchor tag, but I had a class on that anchor tag, the class would get that value applied to it and override anything up here. IDs have the highest priority, and that's even more so over classes. So if I had an ID in a class and one was red and one was green, the ID color would be taken. So anytime you have an ID, it's going to take precedence over the others. And again, we have this stacking order that takes place and precedence. The last thing that you need to be aware of, if I have two elements that are H1s, and I say one's going to be a font weight of 100 and one's going to be a font weight of 900, it's going to take the last one seen. So it goes from top to bottom, going down and trying to see who is the last one seen. But again, if I was to apply, an ID to this, maybe I did an ID logo and I applied it to that H1, this would get precedent, as well as it would be having precedent if it was above the H1, because again, it's more specific using an ID over just a normal element selector.